Right now, picture the 9 people you love most, your partner, your closest friends, the family you trust with your life. Statistically, one of them just stopped being on your side. They look exactly the same. They'll still hug you at the door, laugh at your jokes, pass you the salt at dinner. But somewhere behind that familiar face, a single quiet decision has been made. Every human being on earth has to die. You, them, everyone. And they will spend the rest of their life making it happen. This is the scenario. Overnight, 1 in 10 people on the planet turns. That's around 780 million human beings chosen completely at random. Here are the rules, because every one of them matters. They keep their original personalities, their memories, their sense of humor, their love for their own kids, their fear of dying. The mission to wipe out humanity just sits on top of all of it, overriding everything else when it counts. They are not a hive mind. They feel no bloodlust. And here's the cruel part. They have no idea who the others are. There's no signal, no secret handshake, no way to find each other. Each one of those 780 million people wakes up believing they might be the only person on Earth who feels this way. Their goal isn't power or victory, it's extinction, total, themselves included. So the question is simple. Can 780 million disconnected killers actually end the species? And if they can't, how many of us do they take down trying? Your first instinct is probably relief. 780 million strangers, scattered, broke, unable to coordinate. How dangerous can that really be? But random means random. If 1 in 10 of everyone turns, then 1 in 10 of every group turns with them. 10% of every army on Earth, 10% of the police. The same slice of surgeons, airline pilots, the engineers who certify your bridges, and the technicians who service your brakes. People love to do the napkin math on billionaires and get it wrong. They figure the ultra-rich are simply too rare to get picked. They're not. Out of the roughly 2,700 billionaires alive, you'd expect around 275 of them to turn. Give every billionaire on Earth a 10-sided die and say a 1 means rogue, and about 1/10 of them roll it. The murderous 10% isn't a mob of the powerless. It's a perfect cross-section of humanity, with all of humanity's money, access, and weapons folded right in. So everyone's mind goes straight to nukes. There are 9 nuclear states, and the odds that at least one of their leaders laying in the rogue 10% come out north of 60%. That sounds like instant doom, except one person cannot launch a nuclear weapon. Not a general, not a president, not a dictator. A launch runs through a chain of people, separate officers turning separate keys at opposite ends of a room, codes verified up and down a command structure, and at nearly every step, someone whose entire job is to ask, why are we actually doing this? To fire, you don't need one rogue at the top. You need the whole chain rogue at the same moment, and those odds fall off a cliff. We have the history to prove it. During the Cold War, the world got saved more than once by a single person quietly refusing to pass the order along. A rogue leader can absolutely nudge us toward war, provoke, lie, escalate. But pressing the button is far harder than the movies make it look. A city might die. The species probably won't. And honestly, the nukes were always a distraction. The real threat doesn't look like one big dramatic button at all. It's mundane and it's everywhere. The rail worker who loosens the brakes before your morning commute. The inspector who waves through the contaminated shipment. The pharmacist or the structural engineer signing off on a weld he knows will fail. A gun on your hip does nothing against the person who's been making your coffee for 15 years. Every system we live inside assumes the people running it are on our side. Pull that one assumption out, and the machine starts turning on the people it was built to serve. And while the whole world is watching the missile silos, 10% of its virologists walk into their labs and get to work. Hundreds of separate attempts at engineered outbreaks scattered all over the map. What saves us there is almost boring. A doomsday virus isn't a weekend project. It needs funding, equipment, collaborators, years. And the moment someone starts behaving strangely inside a high security lab, the others 90% notice. Most of them get stopped. Most is doing a lot of work in that sentence, but here's what actually saves us, and it's built right into the rules. The 10% have every advantage except the only one that matters. They cannot talk to each other. 780 million killers, each convinced they're alone. They can't organize, can't pool their resources, and can't coordinate a single strike across a single city block. Worse for them, their goal includes their own deaths, so they keep taking each other out by accident. A bomb in a crowded square kills rogues too. When the dust settles, the murderous 10% will have spent an enormous amount of effort decimating themselves, which, fun fact, is exactly what that word originally meant, to kill 1 in 10. The one thing that would make them unstoppable is coordination, and that's the one thing the scenario forbids. Here's how it would actually unfold. Day 1 is chaos. The impatient ones grab whatever's close and lash out, and most of them get cut down fast in clumsy, pointless attacks. Somewhere in there, the bloodthirsty 5-year-olds being wrestled away from kitchen knives tip the whole world off that something is deeply structurally wrong, earlier than the clever killers would have wanted. Martial law goes up everywhere. Then the patient ones go quiet and become sleeper agents. And here's the cruel irony. When society starts to collapse, the rogue's job gets harder, not easier. Civilization was their camouflage. A killer disappears into an anonymous city of millions. He does not disappear inside a barricaded group of 12 people who all know each other and are watching for the first wrong move, which points at the thing that actually breaks. And it isn't the human population, it's trust. Crime stopped getting solved because 1/10 of the detectives want the chaos to spread. You can't line up for emergency food because a line is a crowd and a crowd is a target. You stop trusting your neighbor, then your coworker, and finally the people inside your own home. Because the math quietly insists that someone close to you is one of them, and you will never know which one until they move. People collapse inward into tiny arm cells. The world doesn't end in a mushroom cloud here. It ends quietly, in 8 billion people deciding, one by one, that they can't afford to trust anyone ever again. So can they actually win? To wipe out humanity, you don't have to kill most people. You have to kill all of them. Every hermit, every prepper in the mountains, every uncontacted tribe that will never even hear the news, every rich family sealed inside a bunker. And that's the wall 10% slams into. Even in the absolute worst case, with civilization in ruins and the rogues winning, their last act is suicide. And then the survivors who were hiding the whole time simply walk back out into an empty world. A handful of viable groups is all it takes to bring us back. The number the math keeps landing on is brutal but consistent. A disconnected 10% triggers a catastrophe with no precedent in human history, kills somewhere in the hundreds of millions, maybe grazes a billion or more if a single nuke or plague slips through, and still cannot finish the job. So what number would? Below about 1%, society barely shudders. They get absorbed like any other crime wave. At 10%, you get the apocalypse without the extinction. To actually end us, the estimates climb to 30, 40, 50%, and not because you need that many killers. It's that below that line, coordination never forms, and a few survivors always slip through the cracks, which leaves one genuinely uncomfortable thought. On any ordinary day, far more than 1 in 10 of us quietly can't stand the rest of us. And the lights still come on, the planes still land, the coffee still gets made. The only thing standing between us and the murderous 10% isn't our strength or our weapons. It's that they can't find each other.